Hi, my name is Dorota Haber-Lehigh. I'm an artist. I'm a botanical artist and an educator and an instructor as well. Um, I work in variety of media, pen and ink, watercolor, color pencils. But I also work with landscapes, but my focus is depicting plants and sometimes insects and birds and things like that. I grew up in Poland
Hmm.
and in I was born in 73. So 70s, 80s, it was under communism. A lot of people had one, there was a lot of shortage of food. So we spent a lot of time in the garden growing food, weeding, growing food, and watching it, picking fruit, flowers. And then on the other hand, canning, processing food, things like that. And then at the same time, um, a lot of people foraged for foods. So partially because, after the war and under communism, there was a lot of shortage of food. So a lot of people had foraged because of it. But there also has been in Poland, historically and traditionally, a long history of foraging and collecting medicinal plants in the field, in the forest. So, we would go outside depending on the season, and look for certain things, or collecting, flowers and drying them for tea. Um, I also did a lot of mushroom hunting with my grandparents, and everyone's kitchen was filled with drying either strings. We would string the mushrooms. So once we picked the mushrooms, we would cut them, clean them, and then string them like a little string of pearls and hang them from the ceiling, to let them dry because there was not a lot of space. And then the flowers like chamomile or yarrow, um, linden, flowers from the tree, everything was mint. We would pick it and also hang them. And, anywhere in the kitchen, you could find a spot from the ceiling. So that's kind of got me started, like thinking about plants and depicting plants. When it comes to Pacific Northwest, I've always been kind of drawing since I've come to Oregon, but in particular, you know, um, I've been interested kind of like, what's edible out here? What's medicinal out here? I don't see a lot of people like initially, I didn't really see a lot of people foraging. Now it's becoming a little bit more popular. Um, but I've always been interested in like native plants. I live on a little property in Seaside that has a wetland. So I can't really have like I tried growing roses and hydrangeas and daffodils and nothing will grow here. So I had to like, okay, what are some native plants that will grow? I've always been interested in like other cultures and other languages, and I studied Spanish. Um, so I wanted to get the international studies degree, but I did not want to go abroad anymore because this was abroad for me. It was a lot of changes in my life just coming to this country and study. So I ended up choosing studying Native American cultures of the Pacific Northwest. And that connected with my Spanish language because I got a minor in Spanish as well. And then so that's why I was always interested and wrote a research paper about the connection of Native American depiction of landscape through masks as compared to the depiction of landscapes by like 19th century American painters. So it was like the concept of landscapes in art comparing the Native American, um, interpretation of landscapes through masks and through the rituals and the performances and stories as compared to, you know, um, the early American understanding and relationship with landscape. So that kind of got me interested in Native American art and how the plants, specifically trees, were used for different kinds of things. And also some medicinal usage of plants. So that was my early interest. Mhm. It started with like when I was living in Oregon in Seaside. We get we get told, there's going to be this massive earthquake, and everybody lived in this fear for a long time, and they told us like we're going to have to evacuate up on the hill, and there is nothing up on the hill. There is no facility, and there is no the whole city lays at the sea level. And so one summer I decided like, I always have summers off because I work as a teacher. And I thought, I'm just going to kind of research and find out one plant for each letter of the alphabet and then do some research. So I started with A, like Angelica, and B, Bleeding Heart. And it ended up, I ended up making it and self-publishing it as a coloring book. So it was ABC of the coastal plants of the Pacific Northwest, and I don't print it anymore unless I've donated a lot of copies for like educational purposes to different schools and other places. Um, yeah, and I did ethnobotanical research. So I tried getting books and through libraries and finding some ethnobotanical researchers from Washington and just reading a lot of books. So I'm always like thinking of new ideas or thinking of new exercises or um, thinking of bringing in different artists to inspire people, different techniques or different approaches. Then I like to experiment as well with different media and different approaches. So, and then just seeing what people are creating or producing or, how much fun they're having. And sometimes I have people from different regions. So it's not always people from Oregon. Um, I work with people from Washington, California, so now from East Coast because I teach for um, North Carolina Botanical Garden. And there, it's a very different group of people. It's East Coast. Their native plants are very different. A lot of the native plants on the East Coast are our invasives. Like holly is native, magnolias are native, and other things. So it's been really interesting to learn, what other people are doing in different parts of the world, in their backyard I love the North Carolina Botanical Garden Mission. They are offering a certificate in botanical illustration, but the focus is primarily on native plants. And a lot of the programs at the garden, a lot of lectures and things like that are related to raising awareness of native plants. And so I love that particular mission of the garden, and I love teaching for them because of that. And a lot of people are really devoted to learning more about native plants and bringing more native plants to their backyard. And I think drawing and sketching is like a way for people to, get to know the plant and then um, kind of have like a special relationship to being in nature. And I love that. I love when people say like, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing so much more now." Like our sensitivity, like visual sensitivity, is turned on when you're sketching and drawing. And I love to see that when people experience that kind of a shift in perception, when they tell me like they're going for a walk and now they're noticing the patches of the bark or the color, the moss, or they're noticing the patterns and shapes and the like geometric structures of leaves and which they've never seen before. So that's really sweet. That kind of warms my heart.